If you love the Raiders, then subscribe to the Raiders Report for more free videos. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. I was breaking down the fact that Henry Ruggs was released late last night at around midnight. The bottom line, I love this team. I love what I do. And if you want to make sure that you know more than your buddies around the Raiders, hit that big red button that says sub. Raider Nation, what's going on? You guys are watching the Raiders Report. Coming up here on today's show, I have some Henry Ruggs replacements. We're going to talk about some potential free agents that the Raiders could go out and sign. I'm going to give you 10 names of wide receivers on practice squads. We're also going to talk about some players that the Raiders could potentially promote or put in some different situations. So the news that happened late last night, the Raiders released former number 12 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, Henry Ruggs, after a incident involving him in a car crash, which ended up having a 23-year-old woman dead. Now, Ruggs will be charged with DUI resulting in death. And the fact that this wreck happened bright and early, our team here at Chat Sports, we did our absolute best to be able to cover it. And we covered it yesterday for almost 6 hours, really, when you think about the total time everything took. 4 videos on top of that. But a 23-year-old woman and her dog passed away. Ruggs could be facing 2 to 20 years in prison. I do want everyone right now to throw prayers down in the comments, because I do want to send my personal thoughts and best wishes to the 23-year-old woman's family, and I'm also going to send my best wishes to the Ruggs family, his girlfriend, and his very young daughter. Now, in terms of actual NFL implications, with Ruggs being released, he was under contract through 2023, and his release is going to save the Raiders about $5 million this year, and it's going to save them $7.4 million next year and $5.3 million. Let's just face it, the Raiders will not have to pay Ruggs' salary whatsoever. Now, obviously, replacing him is not going to be easy. You're not going to replace 4.2 speed. You're not going to find somebody that had his playmaking ability. I mean, think about it. He was leading the team with 469 receiving yards, 24 catches. He was just an absolute ball hawk. I mean, an absolute playmaker. But as it stands right now, the Raiders have 3 wide receivers on their depth chart. You have Bryan Edwards, who I now believe is your wide receiver 1. Zay Jones is going to get thrown into a wide receiver 2 position, and Hunter Renfrow is going to remain in the slot. This is obviously a very sad story from top to bottom. I woke up this morning and I still really couldn't believe that it actually happened. I really was like, man, is this somehow of a nightmare? I was emotionally drained, and coming into work today, it really put a perspective that you could do everything right, and in a snap of a finger, your entire life can change. So make sure you're always making the right decisions. Now, in terms of what the Raiders could potentially do on their already current roster, there's 3 receivers on the practice squad. You have DJ Turner, Dylan Stoner, and Javon Wims. Turner's more of a special teams threat, quick intermediate route type of dude. I know Rich Bisaccia is really high on him. Speaking of being really high, Dylan Stoner, really good overall route runner. He was probably the best receiver in the offseason in terms of the UDFAs. And then Javon Wims, another player to at least keep in mind. So in terms of those 3 guys on the practice squad, who would you try to promote coming up here for Week 9? Would you promote DJ Turner, type DT? Would you promote Dylan Stoner, type DS? Or would you go ahead and promote Javon Wims, type JW? The next player that we're going to talk about here is DeSean Jackson, who was waived by the Los Angeles Rams on Tuesday. He himself also posted it on Instagram. Now, when this story first came, everyone was like, all right, the Raiders need to go out right now and sign D-Jax. I know I definitely fell for it. Then we got a little bit more information that came out and said, well, he's going to be on the waiver wire, which essentially is like, just like any fantasy football waiver wire out there, it basically goes by draft order. Since the Raiders are 5-2, they're going to be pretty far down. I know that the Raiders are at least interested in DeSean Jackson. I would love D-Jax on this team. He's definitely not what he used to be, but he still does at least bring some elite speed that I know this offense is desperately going to be looking for, since they're not going to have Ruggs. The Raiders will 100% put in a claim for Jackson, and if he does end up falling all the way down for him, well, then Jackson's going to be in some silver and black. Now, let's say the Raiders get DeSean, which we'll probably figure that all out on Thursday. I do still anticipate the Raiders making at least one move today on Wednesday, because as their roster stands right now, they have 51 total players. You can have up to 53. which means you can go out and potentially sign a free agent wide receiver. So coming up right now, I got 10 free agent wide receivers that I believe the Raiders could potentially go out and sign. That way you're ready to rock and roll for the New York Giants. The first name coming up here, it's John Brown. And I really think out of all the players that I'm going to mention here who can replace Ruggs, the one that makes the most sense to me, the one that really just jumps out, it is John Brown. Why? He was signed this offseason. He's got some speed. He was asked to be released earlier this offseason, not because he didn't like the Raiders, but because Ruggs, Bryan Edwards, Renfrow, a lot of these younger receivers, they were playing well. We know he's got speed. He was shortly with the Broncos. Then they released him. Smokey Brown's out there. So I'm going to ask you guys this. Why for yes and for no should the Raiders bring back John Brown? I am going to go ahead and type my why for yes. I'm still just going to be looking for depth and somebody that at least knows this position a little bit or knows this team. So, I'm going to say yes, bring back Smokey. Let's go to the next player up here. Golden Tate. Now, the next players that you're going to see in terms of free agent guys that we could go out and get, some of these are just bigger names than some of the top names out there. Golden, 5'10", 197 pounds. I do think he would fit pretty well in an intermediate route type of role. Doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the juice that he used to have back with the Lions, even with the Seahawks, but could be another depth piece behind somebody like Hunter Renfrow. Let's go to Alshon Jeffrey. Maybe you're looking for another bigger receiver, a lanky dude. If he's healthy, Jeffrey's good. But let's face it, I don't have a lot of confidence that the 6'3", 220-pound receiver, who I remember him in his days with the Chicago Bears, he was legit. Since then, I have nicknamed him Kleenex. At least I did back with my fantasy football days because he's about as soft as a Kleenex, always getting hurt. Next player, this one's going to be a very popular name and somebody that I would definitely keep in mind, Seth Roberts. Do I think Seth is a very talented receiver? To be honest with y'all, no. But I know he has a good connection with the Raiders. I know Raider Nation likes him. He'd be a good locker room fit right away. And he can actually kind of block, which it wouldn't surprise me maybe if the Raiders try to put somebody on the field that has a little bit more blocking experience and has some other things going on for them as well. Now, if you guys want to go ahead and bet on the Raiders for week 9. If you want to bet on the Raiders making the playoffs, you guys can do that with the #1 sports book on the internet. So we got this deal, chatsports.com/Raiders. If you use promo code Raiders125, you're going to get a 125% deposit bonus. So what does that mean? If you deposit $100, you get $125 for free. And for first-time BetUS users, I'm also going to hook you guys up with a free Raiders jersey. So here's how you get the jersey, chatsports.com/Raiders. Promo code Raiders125. Then you deposit $100, you get $125 for free, and put down at least one $5 bet. The 4 jerseys that you just saw cycle through there, Max Crosby, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, those are the jerseys that I have in stock. Once you do those steps, you can email me, jersey@chatsports.com. Send me a screenshot of your deposit of a bet that you made. If you have any questions whatsoever and you want me to literally just lay out all those steps that I did, email me, jersey@chatsports.com. Shout out to BetUS for hooking us up with an awesome deal. I'm also probably going to be putting out some of my bets a little bit later in the week in case you're wondering. I did go 3-2 last week. All right, let's go to the next player again here. Again, we're talking about it's DeSean Jackson, another name I actually think that you could maybe keep in mind. Remember, Jackson's going to be on the waiver. Another guy who I actually wanted to bring up was, I believe, Kelvin Benjamin. I think that's who the name was. But regardless, we're gonna keep on moving on here because I had another name, and Devin Funchess, that was the guy. Devin Funchess was the other dude to be able to keep in mind. But DeSean definitely is probably the top name in terms of the wide receivers to go out and get. So should the Raiders sign a free agent wide receiver, I want you to go ahead and type S for sign, or, nah, man, we're good, type P for pass. I was actually hoping that they would make a move at the trade deadline. Remember, the trade deadline is passed. So Allen Robinson, OBJ, Brandon Cooks, all those names that we've been talking about for weeks, you can't go out and make those moves anymore. Let's go to the next free agent wide receiver, Keelan Doss. Doss, kid from Oakland, has had some experience with the Raiders, knows the system. Again, now we're starting to get into this area where you're never going to be able to replace Ruggs, but you have only 3 receivers on your team. You need to be able to fill some bodies. You could potentially go ahead and bring in Doss or Marcel Aitman, who also knows the system here with the Raiders. Draft him, I believe, back in 2017 or 2018 at this point, but has spent some time on this team, was here with the Raiders in the offseason, didn't make the roster cuts. Again, bigger dude, knows the system. Let's go to the next player here, Marquise Lee. maybe you're looking for a little bit more speed again, like Ruggs, a veteran. The biggest issue with Lee is the injuries. He has a long, long list of injuries. He's a West Coast guy. Every single time I talk about free agent receivers, Lee always gets brought up, and I think it's because of the USC connection. Next name up here for some potential top free agent wide receivers, Farrah Cooper. And I'm not overly excited about Cooper. Again, I get it. He's a South Carolina guy. There's a connection there. A lot of times another player that gets brought up a lot because, oh, Bryan Edwards, he went to South Carolina. The last name coming up here is Justin Hardy. And the last three names are more or less just me trying to give you guys bigger names of top free agent wide receivers out there. I don't think Dez Bryant makes a lot of sense, and I know I'm going to get asked about him. And I'm sure there's going to be other receivers that get brought up where I'm going to be like, sorry, those guys simply do not make sense if you're trying to replace Henry Ruggs. Now, another route is this, and I put this out on Twitter, and it looks like it's doing pretty good. If you guys want to hit me up on Twitter, I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. What about starting Foss Moreau at tight end, making him the top tight end on your team? He did have 6 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown Week 7 up against the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's maybe not a popular opinion to some, but I really think if you're trying to replace Ruggs, maybe throwing Darren Waller out at wide receiver or running more 2 tight end sets could be an option. Is Waller and Ruggs the same player? No, of course not. But I do think Waller is one of the most athletic players in the entire league, and if we can at least get him on the field a little bit more, where it's Waller, Foss Moreau, you throw out Zay Jones, Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, I might actually be more confident in that group of 5 players than going out and getting a lot of other dudes out there. So it's just an idea. So what would be your one-word reaction if you saw the very first game come out against the Giants? It's Waller lining up as a receiver, you got Foss Moreau as the tight end, and then you got 2 other receivers, probably Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. What would be your one-word reaction to seeing Waller at receiver, Moreau at tight end? I'm going to be looking down in the comments. Now, if you guys haven't already, please give me a follow on Instagram. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. It has been a crazy week. There's no doubt about that. A very emotional week. I kept you guys up to date on Instagram, but I've also really been trying to step up my Twitter game. And if you want to go ahead and vote on the next Chucky Head, I have a poll. It's pinned on my Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. Go ahead and get your votes in. The poll's going to be open for an entire week. Also, we're on the YouTube community as well, so please get your votes in. We're trying to figure out what's going to be the next Chucky Head. Now, let's just say there's players out there that, I don't know, you weren't confident in the free agency pool. Well, there's also some practice squad dudes. The top name on here is Willie Snead. Rico Gafford has also had some experience with the Raiders, and the team that you see next to them is the team right now that they're currently on for their practice squad. You have David Moore, somebody that the Raiders tried to bring in briefly, then he went to Denver. DeMornay Pearson-L, another player that spent some time with Las Vegas. He's currently on Denver. Isaiah Coulter is actually a dude that I liked a lot when he was first coming out of Rhode Island, but by far the top name on here was Willie Snead, who was actually been on the Raiders this year. He's got 9 targets, 3 catches, has spent a little bit of time with this team, and he was also same situation as John Brown, asked to be released because he wasn't getting the snaps. So you could potentially have a situation where it really wouldn't be surprised with 2 roster spots left if you go out, try to bring in John Brown or Willie Snead, and then you cross your fingers for DeSean Jackson. 5 more names. Kiki Cutie. He's right now on the Indianapolis Colts. Before some of the injuries, he was a popular name. Laquan Treadwell is always a player I will continue to bring up. He was definitely a bust in the first round, but he was Mike Mayock's #1 receiver when he first came out. Anthony Miller right now is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's got some juice. Philip Dorsett's got some speed. And then Dez Fitzpatrick. I actually liked Dez when he was first coming out from Louisville. Has gotten buried a little bit on that Tennessee depth chart. Those are 5 more names for top practice squad wide receivers. Now, when I started this show off, I told y'all, subscribe. Make sure you turn on those notifications. That way you don't miss a thing. It's going to be a busy week here on the Raiders Report, and it's going to be a busy week around the Raiders. If they make any moves, if we get any more updates around anything, I can guarantee you this, we're going to be making a video about it. So please, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys are doing the right things because remember, your life can change in a snap of a finger. Everyone enjoy your Wednesday. Hopefully it's a lot more chill than, well, yesterday.